As Bernard says, the federal election is more important every election because the federal government has more power every year. Yeah, and it's supposed to be the other way around. I think it was Mike Church back when he was on Sirius Radio. He once said, remember, according to the Constitution,
Royce is getting
the federal government is there at the behest of the states, not the other way around.
Just say it, Royce.
But A.S. Bernard's right. The more and more of that power has been centralized, and it's flipping on us.
I can actually hear his butt cheeks clench from here.
I hate it when you guys do this. I really do. You guys do it to me. Okay, so you know where we really went wrong? Okay, so you know the biggest part. So here was the biggest problem. Where
I'm gonna go take a nap.
Those history
I'll be
buffs
back.
out there. Yeah. Okay. The biggest, one of the biggest crimes against specifically the states' rights versus the there are two amendments that I think absolutely eviscerated states' rights, and they happen to be sequential. That would be the 16th Amendment and the 17th Amendment.
Is one of those the Interstate Commerce Clause?
No.
Okay, I've had someone actually try and tell me how that hurt freedoms. I'm like, I disagree, but that's
right. It's a different conversation in and of itself. Let me rant on the 16th and 17th Amendment. Okay, so the 16th Amendment. My God, he's old. I know the Price is Right's been over for a few hours, but good Lord, you can stay up for a minute longer.
It's tapioca day today.
It's God.
I want to hear this rant.
I'm not gonna lie, a really good tapioca isn't bad.
I want to hear this rant and then hear readouts of you.
Okay. So here's what I'm saying.
So
I am of the firm opinion that the 16th and 17th Amendments were passed directly to go against the 10th Amendment. Now, if all of us know, the 10th Amendment is largely known as the States' Rights Amendment, right? Okay, so for those that don't know, if I need to actually read the thing, I will. I have it right here. But the 10th Amendment, as the abbreviated version, is basically, if it's not explicitly stated in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights, which was the first 10th Amendment, which was the first 10 amendments. Now, amendments are obviously passed later on to amend the Constitution. We all know that. But if it's not explicitly stated, all powers fall to the states. Now, the way to subvert that, the way that we were originally set up, is that you actually had statesmen and you actually had housemen, right? Whereas you get the House of Representatives and then you get Congress. Okay, two very, very different things. Okay, so you've got the Senate and the House. So the Senate was supposed to represent the state in Washington. Stop it, good sir. We're not quoting. Can you get your hand gesture? All right, you know what? Do you want me to should I hand talk this whole thing? All right, so just so I can satiate needs, I will hand talk the rest of this as much as you guys want.
Well, I was looking to see what you were holding.
So,
is that a pocket Constitution? Yes, I used to have one of those in my pocket.
Like 6 of them. I actually have one sitting on my desk at work. So it's funny when people come in and they look at that on my desk. They're like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Everybody should have one.
You're one of those guys.
Oh no, all of my guys know that if they want to get me off, and when it's yearly safety training, if they want to get me off in the weeds, just mention how bad the government is. They all know it at this point. But anyway, so the issue is that now you have the States' Rights Amendment. Now you obviously had the Senate and then you had the House. Now, the House was there to represent the people of the state and to coordinate with the Senate. Now, the Senate would then represent the state in Washington. Now, what it used to be before the 17th Amendment was passed, and we'll get into the 16th here, but the 17th Amendment gave the power to the people to directly elect their senators. It used to be you would elect your House of Representative members, and then they would get together, and then they, as working for the people, would then elect the people who were supposed to represent your state in Washington. So you have a few degrees of separation there, or at least 1 degree of separation there when it came to representing your state in Washington. Thusly, you elect House of Representative members then elect your Senate state representative. The 17th Amendment gave the ability over to the people to directly elect their senators. Okay. This, I believe, was something that was completely underthought of. I've read the arguments of the time. I know what the back and forth was of the time. I think it was duplicitous in nature. And the reason that I say that is At the time, we knew that the House of Representatives elections were largely a popularity contest, right? And the House of Representatives members, for the most part, really kind of only affected what was going on their state, worked with their governors, things like that. And it actually took the consensus of House of Representative members. So for states that have more House of Representative members, it actually took more consensus between them if they were separated between multiple parties to actually get a state representative in Washington, known as the Senate. When you passed it along to the people, the same popularity measures that handled for the House went over to the Senate. And what that
Jewish space lasers.
And that's how that, never mind, I'm not allowed to say bad things right now, but that's how she got elected. Okay. So essentially what you have is you had the unifying of the parties that happened more from the people. So you had less and less back and forth between the parties. The 16th Amendment, I believe, was directly go directly against the 10th Amendment, because the 16th Amendment, for the first time in American history, gave the pocketbook of the federal government the ability to grow larger than that of any individual state. And thusly, after the 16th Amendment was passed, we started seeing federal subsidization of states and laws being passed based off of federal subsidization crawl to a level that we have not ever seen in this country. That is something that I 100% believe was to go directly against the 10th. I believe that both of these were passed almost simultaneously, very, very closely together. I think it was 19. Let's see, the 16th was 14 and the 17th was 16. I think I'm wrong on that. You guys need to double check me on that. The year doesn't matter. They were passed sequentially next to each other in order to go against, because if you have more money, you have more power. And if you have the ability to turn crucial elections into a popularity contest, you thusly reduce the power of the population, and you ultimately are able to manipulate the population.
Oh, wow.
So, and radio and TV played a big deal on that too, because they started seeing that like the 50s and 60s where people campaigning primarily on radio started losing to those who looked good on TV.
Yeah.
All right,
well, that was
Rita,
JFK. That's why JFK won. What?
I just have a very simple comment. The 16th Amendment, February 3rd, 1913, ratified.
Yes, Bernard says, I have about a dozen pocket constitutions. If I can't have guns, I'll have my microaggressions.
All right.
The 17th was ratified April 8th, 1913.
Yep.
You know what's interesting about those dates?
Oh, wow.
Guess who was president by April 1913?
Yeah, it was Woodrow Wilson. I believe it was
the
first Roosevelt. It was the first Roosevelt. It was Teddy Roosevelt who actually oversaw the arguments for both of these.
Bully.
And then passed it over to Wilson, and Wilson was actually elected after that. And so Teddy Roosevelt was actually all in favor of both of these amendments. This is why I can't stand the guy. I know the Rough Riders and this, that. No, but he was passing the constitutional amendment. The other crap part about the 16th Amendment, if you actually read the language of it, it doesn't cap the ability that the federal government has that they can tax you. The federal government, under the 16th Amendment, can pass an income tax of 110%, and it is perfectly legal under the 16th Amendment. If you look at the restrictive language of the first 10 amendments that the founding fathers passed, they were very, very deliberate in what they said and their intentions of it. The amendments after that got very, very open to interpretation because of the language that they would use. They didn't pass the fine line restrictions in the subsequent amendments as they did in the former amendments that restricted the federal government and the federal powers, because the later amendments were actually designed to widen federal grasp on the country and try to start really centralizing everything. Now, they started the centralization efforts, obviously, further back. You can refer to Razorfist's video on, Lincoln being a tyrant. I mean, the centralization of the country has all but started about 5 seconds after the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were passed. We know this. It's documented.
Still fucking ranting.
I'm listening. Keep going. This is actually good.
Yeah.
Jose Hernandez says, let's bully Wrangler into showing them. Yo, Wrangler, show the tweet.
Show the tweet.
No.
I'm sorry. It's not my show. I shouldn't rant.
No, I was.
I'm not sure which tweet he's talking about.
Wait.
I'm
Get me
assuming he
going
meant his earlier post.
Get me going off on Sunday Coffee. That's my rant stream.
But, no, you were hitting. Good point.
This is my zone.